Does using social media make us depressed? Scientists seem to think so, which is, well, a little depressing. Writers are encouraged to use social media after all. That's how we advertise our books or make connections that will help us broaden our reach. So we're supposed to be on social media, yet being on social media can make us depressed. What do we do? Researchers found that those who said they use social media, quote, excessively, were more likely to be moderately or even severely depressed than those who didn't. Still, most of us don't consider ourselves addicts, so we might ignore that study. But then in 2011, another one came out, this time linking a, quote, great deal of time on Facebook with an increase in depression. A lot of these studies, though, were on younger people. So those of us who are adults, middle-aged, maybe older, don't consider ourselves in these groups, right? Researchers focused on older adults in one study. They found that the more adults use social media, the more lonely they felt. The adults that used it the most reported decreased bonding with, quote, real people. Some psychologists think this may be because the more time we spend on social media, the less time we're interacting in the real world, and our worlds can start to shrink. Researchers looked at 82 participants who used Facebook 5 times a day for 2 weeks. The results showed a concerning negative shift over that 2-week period. The more people used the social media, the worse they felt. The less satisfied they were with their lives. Scientists think the more we look at Facebook, the more we compare ourselves to the people we're seeing, and then we tend to find ourselves coming up short. This comparing tends to happen a lot. As a writer, yes, you need to use social media, but the more you use it, the more you may feel a little bit down. That's not a lot, right? Especially if you're an author and you're trying to network and market your books. Yet in this study that showed that it increased depression, that's about the time that the users were spending. Then there was a variety of how often they checked their accounts per day or per week. Those who frequently checked their social media, so several times throughout the day, were 2.7 times more likely to be depressed. Those who spent the most time collectively or totally on social media were 1.7 times more likely to be depressed. If you find that social media is kind of bringing you down, spend less time overall. Having a scheduling app can make a big difference. Personally, I use TweetDeck for Twitter. I'll schedule out my posts on 1 day a week. You can do this with all your social media channels. If you have several, then apps like Hootsuite or Buffer, there's a lot of them out there now, can help you schedule your posts on all those platforms so that you can get it all done and then you can forget about it for the rest of the week. As a writer, you're marketing your work. If you approach your social media as part of your job, it can help you avoid the emotional tangles that you can get into that can bring you down. If you're posting to talk about your book, to connect with other writers, to connect with readers, and you're looking at it that way, you're less likely to be comparing your life to what you're seeing on social media. It can still happen, especially when you're perusing your feed, but if your mindset is such that, this is part of my job, this is part of what I'm doing as a writer, then that can help you to create a distance between what you're seeing and what you're doing. It's easy for writers to fall into the comparing trap when we see how other writers are doing well. Other writers are posting their 5-star reviews. They're posting getting awards. They're posting getting publishing contracts or signing a contract with an agent. This is when we can fall into that dangerous trap. If you notice that happening to yourself, try to counteract it by, number one, congratulating that person, and then refocusing your efforts on your own career. Studies have found that emotions are contagious, not only in person, but online. When we see negative posts, we tend to then post negative posts, and vice versa. Be aware of the fact that what you are exposed to on social media can be affecting you. You can fix this in a couple of ways. One is by blocking or unfollowing or somehow taking people off your feed that tend to post negative things. If you have friends that you don't want to block off that are posting negative things, then maybe you can try to turn it around to positive. If you can't do anything like that, then just try to move on and post something of your own that is positive. A lot of us tend to just turn to social media when we're bored or when we have a minute between projects, but that frequent checking throughout the day is what can affect you emotionally. Make a schedule for yourself that you will check your social media perhaps in the morning for 30 minutes and then maybe in the evening for 20 minutes. Have set times when you're checking it and otherwise leave it alone. Most of us don't think about this. We're just on there, we're focused on what we're posting and how we're interacting with people. We're not asking ourselves how this whole process is making us feel. Consider keeping a diary for like a week or so. Record in it how you feel before you start perusing your social media and then how you feel after, and just see how they compare. Studies have found that people with more friends actually are more likely to be depressed on social media. This seems not to make sense for writers because we want to increase our network, we want to expand our reach. In fact, it seems most people are really after big numbers of followers these days. But think about how much those followers are really interacting with you and what you're doing. Numbers really mean nothing. It's more about who is really interested in the work that you're doing, in the books that you're putting out, in the content that you're producing, who's interacting with you, and who is going to then help to spread the word about your next book or whatever it is. If you think about it that way, you'll find that really only a small number of people fit that category in your social media platforms. If you find that you're feeling negative after using social media, getting rid of some of that dead weight may help. A lot of times we get sidetracked on social media and we start consuming it. The whole reason that we're on it starts to get a little bit diluted, and that can lead you into using social media too much. Regroup a little bit and remember that you are a creative, you are a writer, you are producing material that you hope will enhance other people's lives. Bring the focus back to what you can produce that will be good for the people that you're interacting with. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that notifications button so you'll know when I have another video coming out. Meanwhile, if you've experienced negative emotions using social media, I'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments how social media affects you and what you've done to try to improve the situation. Thanks.